Boom chakalaka. Got it. So we're live streamed now. Tracy, do me a favor, go check out YouTube, make sure we're live. For the sake of it. And all right, so this is something we haven't done before. We're doing a live Q&A. Normally I break down the Q&A by questions, which I think I still will do just for the sake of being able to answer questions on an individual basis and have them individually recorded. But first, welcome. My name is Kelby. This is a question and answer we do on Mondays for existing and potential living in the private members. Generally, this is a question and answer type program about everything from employment to Social Security to understanding the office of the person to whatever these things are that people have questions on as it pertains to coming into the private and going after what is known as making Americans American again. And I don't like that coined phrase because it reminds me of a red hat. I don't want to associate myself necessarily with anybody. But I do want to make Americans American again. I do want to bring back an understanding of what a state of the Union citizen is, which Ben Franklin was never a United States citizen. So people don't know that this is real. We're starting to take on a lot of new through the network. And by the way, you can find us on Amazon, Fire, Google TV. You can find us on Android TV. You can find us on Apple soon, I think, and Roku, and a bunch of different local social media channels. We're trying to get it out to the broadband of people, but we get an occasional hair clip because we say a wrong word, and we can't discuss certain things, especially on today's show, being that we're live on YouTube. So first question is from Mark. So what you're going to hear is a recording, because I'm going to record it individually so we can separate it, because we've taken about 1,000 questions and we've categorized them on hisadvocates.org. So you go to hisadvocates.org, click on resources at the top or whatever that tab is, and you can go to the categories on the right hand side of that next page, and you can view any kind of information that you want that we've addressed on these questions. So it's pretty interesting. So first one is hold on, gotta hit the record button. How would this process work for a man on Canada with no affiliation to the United States, other than both are apparently still beholden to the crown? It's a great question. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of proof that it's still beholden to the crown. There's a lot of people that would say that we would be conspiracy theorists, but I would beg to differ, because all you have to do is follow the money, follow the paper trail, and understand that these are all corporations that are registered under the Securities and Exchange Commission in Washington, D.C., and in Canada, Australia, those different elements. And Mark, I got just a few words, and it's pretty basic. Everybody wants to say we don't have the Constitution, we don't have these structures that you have. The only thing that we have different is a resemblance of security, in that, yes, the state citizen exists in law. Yes, there's tons of Supreme Court rulings that support it. But let's break it down. Do they have access to you if you're an employee? Yes. And what makes an employee? Well, you work for the corporation. And so I would suggest that because we're working with Australia right now, we want to work on a worldwide basis helping people quit the corporation. And that's basically the term I want to coin for you. Quit the corporations. The element of let me turn down my background. The element of these being countries is a facade, as you will know. I got it. Everybody's going to think that's a total joke. I'm going to ask that you just consider that the United States is a federal corporation. Canada is a federal corporation. England is a corporation. All these countries have corporations. They're all registered under the District of Columbia with addresses in the District of Columbia. And it's because their birth certificates are under the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is being now publicly traded. And you can go look at anybody's social security number at GMEI utility. We can give you a link if you go to send an email to support@hisadvocates.org, or just join hisadvocates.org and click on support and post a support topic. We'll give you the link where you can check your own social, or the social that belongs to them that's assigned to the birth certificate. You can check that social and you can see how many people are registered investing in your birth certificate as the collateral and surety. So to answer your question, quit the corp. To what element you have to do it in Canada, don't know. It can be done, and I'm sure there's notices that can be given that would put them on check with who you are. Now, I know Dean Clifford and all those guys up there, the predecessors, a precursor towards what is coming. They never really talk about this. They just talk about their rights and what right do you have over a man, and the guys that get picked up for fishing, the guys that get picked up for growing food, the guys that get picked up for these ridiculous things up in Canada and actually here too. The one thing that nobody's really addressed is quitting the corp, getting that put into an active state, and then serving the county and officials. Those officials, I'm sure, have bonds. And when they go outside of their right to contract with somebody who's not an employee of their company or one of their subsidiaries or one of their holding companies, then it becomes apparent that they have no jurisdiction, and that's just a fact in law. So just take that into consideration. Goes for China, goes for anywhere. The only difference is you've got this perception of leadership that is just railroading people. And I want to ask you a question. If you were able to create structures that did not allow for them to take your money, like those truckers, I'd have been completely structured up differently. Nobody's going to take any money that I'm in control of. And it's because I don't use the registered organization name, and everything that I do is private, and creating private structures and how I set it up at the bank and so on and so forth. And so, Mark, you could easily set up accounts all over the world, and you can keep your money funneling through these accounts all over the world. And they wouldn't have access or jurisdiction. You can do it right in Canada, and they wouldn't have access or jurisdiction. And it's one way for you to make money on a worldwide basis, using the World Wide Web, or what have you. I don't know how you earn your money, but the bottom line is, I would just quit the corp. I know it's a long answer. I don't know what public franchises you need to be taking into consideration, but those are my words for you. All right. Now, Mark has a second question. How do you deal with the attachment to the Catholic Church? Now, I know what you're asking, and I'm trying to do right by you on an answer. There is no attachment once you quit the corp. Once you're out, there is no attachment. I know people want to believe all kinds of narratives on the Catholic Church. I do not believe, and I don't want to alienate Catholics from his advocates. And my mom is a staunch Roman Catholic, and she knows what goes on, and she's just stuck. And I hope she never watches this video, but she's stuck. And I know that God is working on that. And I believe there's billions, if I'm guessing 1 point whatever, of Catholics that are really good people and have a great heart. So I'm not speaking to them. I'm talking about the church in general, specifically the Vatican, and what are their ties to people. And as the suggestion is, I've heard it all. They bought the afterbirth. They bought the birth certificates in long form. They've bought all the rights to the DNA. They bought this, that, and the other. And I've heard it all. I don't think there is any attachment once you remove yourself from the corporation, meaning holding the office of the artificial person. And the reason is because and this is just a maximum law, A corporation cannot do business with a living man. It can only do business with like entities, artificial persons, individuals, other corporations. Those first things, three things: artificial person is a birth certificate, individual is a birth certificate, corporation is a birth certificate, and it's other things as well, but it is a birth certificate. All you have to do is look at the UCC 9 under the terms registered organization. All you have to do is look at the word citizen, and you'll find that, and there's Supreme Court rulings on this, but birth certificates, meaning corporations, can be citizens. Artificial intelligence robots can be citizens. So I want you to just consider the rights that they're giving paper and robots and the like. One of the words that comes up is, and it's a common word that comes up, is human. And the definition of human is monster. One of the other things that comes up is where a United States citizen in law is classified as an animal. Okay. Or where a United States citizen is an enemy combatant to the United States. And so when you talk about structure and you go all the way up to the top where you're saying the Catholic Church, I'm down here clipping off the tie, meaning I'm not any longer holding the office of the person, of the artificial person. And I clip that off down here by quitting the corp, and I do a few other things with the DMV and Social Security Administration and IRS, where we're taking these adhesion trusts and we're removing ourselves from holding the office of the artificial person, but accepting the benefit of the license in the wallet, accepting the benefit of the Social Security funds that I earned from my sweat equity to go into a foundation account, accepting the benefit of whatever. We're flipping the tables back on them through administrative processes, constructive notice, and different things. So to answer your question, it's done on a lower level through a public franchise. And a public franchise is a governmental organization that is operating like a government, but really a private public franchise opportunity for businesses. And just, you got to find who your contracts are with. It's your bank accounts, it's your driver's stuff, it's whatever it is. But you got to find out who those are, and those are the things you need to clip. And then you don't need to serve notice or anything to the Catholic Church or whatever. And I'm guessing that that's the question that you were asking, because it's not a very specific question. Next question: if you're holding your BC in your possession, are you the liable party? Not necessarily. How do you deal with the birth certificate as a certified security? Well, first off, there's a lot of different things that can be done with the birth certificate. I've answered these questions a lot in the past. So if you go to hisadvocates.org and you look at our Q&A, you'll find that this kind of subject matter has been determined. We don't deal with the BC other than removing it from the office of the person and bringing it from the public into the private. There's all kinds of things that you can do with the BC. We are not just investigating, we're trying out a lot of different things on the back end, but we're not going to be bringing things to the public front end for anybody on a mass basis, because that's how they make their money. But you just want to remove the contract element with the BC, that you're the liability. Yeah, people are getting authenticated, they're getting a true and correct duplicate copy under Minnesota Rules 220, where there's all kinds of things that can be done with that BC, and people are taking it to the next level and doing set off and discharge and all kinds of things. I don't touch any of that. I'm called for one thing: to come out. I don't play ball. Now, I got it. They captured the live born record. They did it very sneakily, and that is a true and correct title. And you know, one of the other methods is they quiet the title on the BC. Another method is they bring the BC into probate. Another method is they do UCC ones on the BC, and then they file bankruptcy and then make themselves the main creditor. Another one, I mean, there's like a ton of different methods that people are doing to turn the tables back on top of other people with in reference to the BC. For me, I just want to clip the tie, remove myself from holding the office of the person, and make sure that I'm thinking through every contractual relationship from this point forward in my life, so that we're not coming into contract over and over and over. That's the best answer I can give you. All right. Marsha, one last question. If you've endorsed the BC on its face, creating a new security and returning it to the holder of the original, does that change your status to the entitlement holder and theirs to the security intermediary? I've heard, look, I'm not a registered securities guy that knows what's going on in the background on these BCs. I can trace the money. I've seen the money in so much as GMEI utility. I've seen it on Wall Street and looked at the securities and the Bloomberg screens. I know accepted for value, which is on its face similar to what you're asking here. I have people that are getting their accepted for values dialed in perfectly every time. So I don't know if that's your purpose or if it's just to come out. Coming out is one thing. Removing yourself from holding that office, meaning having employment, running or utilizing or using the Social Security for credit, running or utilizing the birth certificate for certain things. It's all could be construed as positioning yourself to actively maintaining the office position, the employment position that the United States gave you for the benefit, right, and privilege of a Social Security agreement at retirement, or for the benefit, right, and privilege to drive a motor vehicle, or for the benefit, right, and privilege of a vote that isn't really helping you out that much anymore. So for me, the accepted for value or the element of creating the security and handing it in for its face value and for set off and discharge of the debt on the back end, I just don't deal with. I don't want to play ball with that. I don't want to put people at risk with that. I don't want to get people in trouble. And the word for me, meaning because from a biblically standing person, the word for me says come out. It doesn't say play. Now, does that mean someday somebody is going to have the wealth of the wicked transfer to the righteous per the word of God in some mechanism that would be approvable? I don't know. Here today, my protection lies in not utilizing the Social Security. Here today, my protection lies in just operating as a man, but not operating through the registered organization, through the artificial person, and holding that office, which keeps me connected. I don't like using the social for anything. I don't like using credit for anything. I have no debt, and I don't like debt. And it's because of how debt is created, and the banks are prepaid on every swipe of every credit card. The banks are prepaid on every note, prepaid, all interest and all principal on every note. I did a 9-hour presentation on chain of titles, advanced training on chain of titles. It's on YouTube. It's on HISadvocates.org, where I show people on the foreclosure element of what they need to be doing to help themselves. And it took me 4 months to create that. I give it away for free, but I talk about the element of the note being prepaid and show people how, where, and all of that. And it's crazy. So why do I want to enrich a bank? When these banks are funding all sides of everything, why would I want to participate in anything like that? I don't. I want to come out. Even when I'm at a gas pump, I'm trying to use the PIN. You know what I mean? Going out for dinner, I asked them to, if they got the thing, they can bring me the thing. I swipe and I'd say, I can use my PIN on this, right? I'm like, yes. I'm always trying to use the PIN. I do not want to enrich a bank. And that's a whole nother conversation. But I mean, I can point you to places if you're trying to figure out the BC, meaning to utilize for set off and discharge. And Tracy could give you some information, but HISadvocates does not participate in that personally or ministerially, and nobody here is trying to figure that out. I was waist deep in that 12 years ago, and I've had stuff set off. I know it exists. There's people out there making fun of people that believe in a private offset account. I don't care. I know it exists. I've seen it work. I've seen the deeds of reconveyance on homes. I've seen the titles on cars. They don't just give that stuff out. You know what I'm saying? But do I want to party with the devil? No. So that's my official position. And God bless anything that you're doing. It's just, and there are some things that we want to do with pulling back the live born record off of the security, reclaiming title, and that's what we're working on privately. All right. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate that. So I'm going to go to the Q&A section over here. If you guys have any further questions, I'm just going to answer them live as they're coming. And we'll see what we can do. Next question: to avoid issues after opening up the B of A account, the address, the business on the CP 575 should match up to the USPS address on the database. Otherwise, B of A will require another address for the personal profile. In my case, the address on the driver's license, which was not used as identification, the passport was used, did not match the address on the CP 575, which was used to open up the account. Just sharing my experience so others can avoid the possible account closure. So for the record, I don't even have all of them on me. I'm just going to show you. Just here. 4 B of A Foundation accounts, just here. I have another wallet. The reason why I'm showing that to you is and none of them have an address on them that I want them to know about. And it's all done in the private side, meaning give them whatever. I gave my mom's address, and I do have stuff there. I'm a sojourner. I've slept there. I do sleep there every now and then. They don't need to know how much. They ask where your stuff is at, and where do you live? And well, I'm a mama's boy. What can I say? I don't want people to know where I store things. For God, own nothing. It's all His. You can't own anything on earth. And if you think you can, die and try to take it with you. You're gonna find very quick you own nothing, and you just might as well give it to him right now, or give it to Satan if that's your God. But I want to honor God with what He did on the cross, and so I try to give it all to Him. So to stay on track, I just open up the account with an address, and then I use the UPS for mailing, and I make sure they go digital and mail me nothing, and email me all statements, and then I serve them constructive notice that I am on a permanent road trip, which is true. I'm a sojourner. And that I own an RV, and I don't have really any formal address to give them. And I don't lie about anything. I don't lie about anything, but I only give them what I want them to know. And they make presumptions, and they then pull the address off the accounts, and therefore I'm left with nothing but a UPS box address on the account, and they can do donut about it unless they want to close. In that case, I'm going to go to Umpqua or some small private credit union, open up the accounts, and have no issues doing it with them. All right. Can one get a certificate of baptism from the church which they are baptized and notice the Vatican confirmation of being entered into the book of life by certificate of baptism? The book of life can record this book of life record can be included in the active state. So my question for you, Donna, is why do you care about a book of life other than the one that God has us written in? That's an interesting concept, and I am not one to throw any concepts out. I know that if I've hair clipped down here at the public franchise lower level, I'm hair clipped at the top. I'm not going after the registered securities. I'm not going after the BC. I am from a standpoint of holding the office and re-engaging the contract at that level, but I'm not from the standpoint of doing what other people are doing. So nothing's changing for them. The actual ability to utilize me as the surety is the only thing that's changed. And so pulling out of that office position, quitting the corporation, changes everything at the public franchise level, at the lower level. So I wouldn't, you can do those kinds of things, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It would only dot your I's, maybe. And but the thing that I do worry about is the element of looking like a sovereign citizen or a conspiracy theorist. You go tell people that the Vatican is who some of us think the way that we do, and I'm not speaking out anything other than what I've heard on the news, mainstream information, horrific cover-ups, satanic stuff, really bad. And I would want to disassociate myself. I did. I just stopped going to Catholic church when I was 10, 11, 12 and started having a relationship with God. I would just be concerned about getting yourself labeled as a sovereign citizen. Now, being a state citizen doesn't necessarily put ourselves in a bad, it actually puts us in a great position. I don't think for a second that being a state citizen is keeping you off of a list. It's keeping you off of we can touch this guy list, but it's not keeping you off you're on a list, but so are conservative Christians, retired veterans, and a lot of other people now. Anybody has even typed the word Trump, go Trump, you're going to prison. You know what I'm saying? And I love how it's all being flipped now. All the lies and all the stuff is now being flipped on the conservative party. It's textbook 101. What's right will be wrong and wrong will be right. What is projectionism? I'm textbook projectionist. I think that the Democratic Party is textbook projectionist. But you gotta realize there's a lot of people that are bad, and I think the Republican Party is just as complicit in a lot of things. So there's only one way to fix this. You can't. And I was talking to my girl last night. I'm like, it pisses me off because I'm watching everybody try to fix. Now listen to me. Everybody is trying to fix. All the Trumpers, all the Bideners, they're all trying to fix a broke, defunct, bankrupt company that is being sold off to China and all the bondholders. It's over. HJR 192, bankruptcy of the United States. After 7 years, became completely done and insolvent. They sold our ports, they've sold our land, and they're selling the people now. Come out. You can't fix and vote a guy into a corporation and make it work. You can't. The Congressional Budget Office said in 2005, the debt is not recoverable. There is no physical possible way to recover the debt of the United States. It's liquidate, let it go, fall away, move on, and re-inhabit the counties one at a time. That's all we got. The Republic is ready for when the counties stand up. The Republic is ready for when the counties stand up, but you can't fix the corporation. So those elements that I'm getting off on a tangent here on the side, those elements of being able to work through and fix the corporation is completely inaccurate. Just by the operation of law itself, it's done. You are voting for nothing. And that's probably why they're getting away with what they're doing. It's because it's done. It's bankrupt, insolvent, being sold to the bondholders who picked up our petroleum reserves. We shipped our petroleum reserves to China. And if you haven't checked lately, Epic Times, Washington Times, New York Times, they just opened a CCP, Chinese Communist Party police station in New York City. Hello. Get out of debt. Remove yourself from being the surety. Get yourself positioned right, serve all of them, and maybe even the CCP notice. That is the only way to fix this. One person at a time. I know, Donna, had nothing to do with your question, but it was good. I had to get it out there. Next question from Joseph, who is currently living on the other side of the world. Joseph, are you still in China? Will I need an LLC in land flipping before putting the land into my private foundation? Yes. Or your registered organization name. Or can I use the foundation directly without the LLC? You can use the foundation. The issue is that title will not insure the transaction. And that's the only issue. So just to be direct with you, Joseph, you have to sell it to the LLC, get it insured, then you can sell it to your foundation without the insurance or title coverage. For a 508c1a to be state recognized, one can record their business with the Secretary of State with an additional addendum to filing notice clearly operating as a 508c1a, redeem the credit and restore the FBO. I would absolutely never do that. Not to put down your great ideas, but registering what belongs to God in the Secretary of State to get recognition gives jurisdiction over the Secretary of State to bring your 508c1a into a charge instrument to go after the bank accounts, to seize anything it wants because it's registered. I don't need recognition from the IRS. I don't need recognition from the state. I've been operating privately as an FBO, whatever you want to call it, church, humanitarian foundation, whatever you want to call it, privately, not publicly, privately. I have seen charge instruments bringing in Secretary of State registered, meaning people that get their exemption letters for their corp souls, SSMs, and I've seen the indictments pull those things in and accounts seized and so forth. I would never, ever, I don't need recognition. I don't need a big donation from somebody if they're requiring me to be a 501c3. I know I can take a donation letter, thank them, write them, put our tax ID number on it, and they can take that donation just like they do a 501c3 and deduct it. I've seen it. I've never seen it turned down because churches existed long before the 501c3 did. And the IRS does not depict what a church is. They may think they do, but their perception of truth is skewed at best of what a church is. They can make a determination of a foundation. They can even use the words private on IRS code of what the word foundation means. I think the people that are reading the IRS code are a little too worried about what the IRS can do in their life and the controls that they let the IRS have over them. I don't claim to be a 508c1a. I never will. I don't claim I fall under a 508c1a. What I say to people is that probably would look the most like us, but we don't claim the benefit of it whatsoever. And so when I go into a bank, I'm not claiming the benefit of a nonprofit, the benefit of a 501c3 or a 508c1a. I'm not claiming any of that. I just open up a business account and I go in later and restructure anything I need, make sure that it's set right on the back end, and I'm good to go, but I don't look for people's permission to serve under God. That's the best way I can put it. The certificate of baptism equals entering in the book of life. Yeah, I would think that giving your life to the Lord equals entering into the book of life. Are you speaking about a physical book at the Vatican or something that I don't know? I've heard the Vatican keeps the book of life. Hey, brother Mark, I didn't know the Holy See was the Vatican's bank. I had no idea. That's interesting. Wow. Okay. So I get it, Donna. All right, hold on. Let's do another answer for Joseph, and then we'll call the video. Kelby, people everywhere are wasting their time fixing the economy or politically. All the hairs are white and no progress after decades. It is a smart plan of the devil. Just get the revival started, and then you can do the living in the private and mass. No, China isn't stopping the zero COVID anytime soon. Yeah, but I'm really sorry. If I had a private jet, I would fly into an airport close. Maybe, I don't know how to do a sweep in, sweep out. I just talked to a politician yesterday. He's running for Senate in Florida. We're going to do an interview with him in a couple weeks, and I said, I don't want to do an interview with a rhino. I want to do an interview with somebody. And I said, but you're trying to fix something that can't be fixed. And I started explaining stuff to him he's never heard before. So we're gonna take that dialogue and go live. He's written books, very well known, respected man, and he didn't know about state citizen. He knew about the takeover of China, meaning the foreclosure here in the United States. He didn't know it to the extent that I said. He just learned about the police station and the CCP police station in New York. But God forbid, Joseph, that anything like that happens. But when you read the Word of God, I find it very interesting. The Battle of Armageddon. It speaks about a 200 million man army, and there is only one nation in this world that can even touch that. That's you guys. It's just interesting we're here. And I love that we're here. But I will fight for the greatest nation on earth. I think the problem is, as well as what you said, is we're being led down the path of least resistance. Do nothing. I always hear, do nothing. Don't get upset with what you're about to see or hear. Guys, listen to me. They are going to shut diesel fuel off, and you're going to see people go hungry right around you. There are guys walking in my neighborhood right now, a good neighborhood, robbing people. There are guys walking around Fashion Island, 4 guys at gunpoint, robbing people. This is where we are at. Okay. Now you cut food off, good people are going to be robbing people. It's 4 or 5 days without food. Good people are going to look in their children's eyes and go and rob their neighbors. Diesel fuel is being shut off. They are trying everything they can to shut this economy off because the Great Reset starts now, November 1st. The European Union is coming into moving away from fiat to digital. through a 20022 compliant company ledger. This is where we are at. And we have to realize exactly where we are at, but it is 100% elections this, elections that. Trump's being arrested next week. Don't worry about it. Stand down, do nothing, don't support your neighbor, don't nothing. Last I remember, when we were at Civil War, Civil War, it was the equivalent of the priests. It was the pastors that when they were giving the message, they had a rifle next to them. That's the adage. That's the old adage that we always hear, is that the pastors led the movement. And I find it very interesting. Now the pastors are leading them into FEMA camps. 2 cents. Yeah, all the counties are called parishes. The parish is under the Holy See. Here's a great example. Here's a great example of how a parish is a county, and how people think that just because the Catholic Church has a parish and its region is county-wide does not make me a Catholic. Just because, and I know you weren't insinuating this, but just because the public franchise known as County of Orange has a region, territory above land, does not make me a party to it. Just because the United States has a region known as federal territory 6 inches above the land does not make me a United States citizen. Just because the CCP has a region, you have to think, what are the contracts that tie you to the CCP or tie you to the Chinese government in general, or the Canadian government? Just because they have a region, it doesn't make it so. Just take that into consideration. All right, guys, we pulled it off. 42 minutes, not bad. And we can end the live pre-zone now. Thank you for showing up. We didn't say any bad words, I think, on topics I'm not allowed to talk about being live over on YouTube right now. So whatever, but join us Mondays, 4:00 every Monday. We answer questions with actual living in the private members, current, going through the process. A lot of times they'll give us kudos. They'll tell you other people what we do, how we do it. Because once you come over and you start understanding the privileges and guarantees of being under God, it's life-changing. So God bless you guys. Have a great day. Thank you for coming on, and we'll see you next Monday, 4 p.m. Good night. And there is no happy Thanksgiving, or excuse me, happy Halloween. I don't say that. Don't take your kids trick or treating.